Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North East Non-League Show, episode 19, title chasing special, sponsored by Baywatch TV, Sun West End, Durham City FC, Jade Bell, and again, proud to support If You Care Share Foundation. Join us tonight. We have local sports journalist Luke Doonan. Luke, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
That's my pleasure, mate. My pleasure. It's
Excellent.
been in the plans for a while, hasn't it?
I know, hasn't it? Yeah, absolutely love your work as well. So really excited to go through kind of some exciting times of some cracking end of season runnings, isn't there? Especially in the Northern League coming up in the next few weeks, isn't there?
Yeah, there's some massive games that will come in later on. I mean, like the whole top of the Northern League pretty much play each other over the next few weeks, so something good.
Some good games for you to get there. But yeah, we're going to be looking at pretty much from the National League down to the Northern League Division 2 and all the title chasers as well. We are still going to be mentioning some of the teams in the high divisions who's kind of not in the title race, it's just kind of going over their form as well. So starting in the National League, and unfortunately, nobody in the North East Challenger, but I'm not going to go past without mentioning Gateshead. And I think with them coming up last season, it was always their aim just to kind of stay up, maybe possibly a bit higher than what they are at the moment, a bit more comfortable. But the last few weeks, they have started picking up points and they're looking a little bit better, aren't they?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, they had a tough start. I mean, they had a really difficult summer losing Langstaff and Scott, but they've only lost one in the last 5, which is obviously to Wrexham. But you just sort of worry where the goals are going to come from going forward, I think, a little bit. Like, Danny Elliott was obviously a very positive spark, but I'm not sure if the Nanga's going to hit the ground running like you'd expect him to.
Football Manager. I always used to say on Football Manager, and I seen the other day, I recognised that name from somewhere, and that's what it was, Football Manager. But as you mentioned, like you said, Danny Elliott recalled, and I know a couple of Gateshead fans use the line, never fall in love with a lone player, and he came in, he scored the goals, pretty much right, you've scored some goals, come back and you're going to bang them in for us now. It's hard to take, isn't it, with lone players at times?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he scored nearly every game he played, didn't he? When he was
pretty
there,
much,
so.
yeah. But it's a tricky thing, isn't it, for them, isn't it? Where they're sitting at the moment, they're kind of 6 points off the bottom, but a couple of wins, and they could be sitting mid-table. It's kind of in that position at the moment. I mean, December lost to Notts County, Wrexham, but 5 wins, 2 draws. It could be turned around and push on for that mid-table. Couldn't have comfortable.
I mean, they've got some decent fixtures coming up as well. They play Oldham sort of home and away. They play Maidstone away, and they're playing Chesterfield, which didn't sound like a good fixture at the turn of the year, but their form's dropped off a cliff massively. So it's kind of the best time for them to go up against Chesterfield as well. They've got to be looking up the league now rather than down with the form that they're in, surely.
Yeah, like you say, they've got a good enough squad, like a lot of young players, and I think they'll learn a lot from this season. Even if, like I say, they are possibly hopefully going to be staying up, but they'll learn a lot from this going forward next season. Some good players. I mean, Owen Bailey now injured as well, crucial player, really good for Newcastle Academy. But I think they'll still have enough to stay up. Do you think they will stay up, or do you think it'll be kind of last few games?
I think they'll be fine to stay up. I think especially like going to the end of the season, if you've got a tough run in there, then you might struggle a little bit. But they're playing Torquay and Scunthorpe at home, I think, towards the end of the season. So they both quite well for them if they can just get a little bit of form.
Definitely. But looking at the title race in that division before we come away, it's pretty much now a 2-horse race between Notts County and Wrexham. Notts County sitting on 71 points and Wrexham on 68, but 68, but 2 games in hand, which could be crucial. But it could be a 2-horse race all the way till pretty much the end of the season, last game, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they play each other at the racecourse ground in April, and it's like it's like cup final day for that.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Like whoever takes the spoils there is gonna feel like might pip it, but I couldn't look past Wrexham. I mean, Notts County have been very impressive, but I mean, Wrexham haven't lost since October in the league. They've won every single home game this season, so it's hard to think when are they going to fall off? Like, what's going to be the breaking point?
Definitely. I mean, like you say, you mentioned earlier with Gateshead, Macaulay and Longstaff and Cheddar and Scott. I mean, it just shows you what a different season Gateshead possibly could have had with them 2 lads in there. And I mean, you've got every chance of scoring 2 or 3 every game with them 2 up front, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Longstaff was scoring every single half at one point in like August, September, but it seems to have fell off a little bit now.
Really good. Definitely. But I mean, going back through, when I was looking at some of the stats of Notts County as well, and I was kind of going back to see when they lost last game. It was going back to last September, which is an amazing run. And then you just think kind of, obviously, Wrexham with 2 games in hand of how clear them 2 teams are being above the rest of the division, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're both on course for 100+ points, which is just mental. But they're both going to be in that, and only one of them is guaranteed promotion. It doesn't seem massively fair, but you'd imagine either would go up through the playoffs as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, looking at Wrexham sitting in second place, and as you mentioned, obviously FA Cup run absolutely fantastic last week. But I think the one thing that stands out for me is Phil Patterson. I've never rated. I know a lot of me Sunderland friends have kind of said the same. They didn't rate him at all at Sunderland, and I think it's obviously between now and the end of the season they have got a big squad. I can imagine on a lot of money. It's trying to keep them players happy between now and the end of the season, which could be the difference for them, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're definitely not lacking in squad depth, like you say. But they need to go up, really, don't they, with some expenses they've got going on. Like, there's no way that they shouldn't be going up to the Football League.
Especially with obviously the backing, and obviously I don't know if they've got like certain Disney Plus and everything involved now, so it'd be massive if they didn't go up the season, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Notts County will probably be devastated that they've come up against one of the best National League sides, probably in recent memory, definitely, and like just as they're hitting form as well.
Yeah, hopefully that. If out of the two, who would you go for out of them two?
I've got to go Wrexham. I just don't think you can look past them.
Excellent, but yeah, crucial game that'll be. Really looking forward to see how that one turns out. Now getting on to the National League North, and luckily we have got a team going for the title in Darlow, which we'll come on to in a bit. But looking at the other two sides in there, which I think is quite crucial. I mean, first of all, Blythe, January picked up 5 points out of 21. Is it good enough? Beat 11 1-0 Saturday. They lost 2-1 on Tuesday night to Chorley, which, to be honest, not a bad result because they are a decent side, Chorley, but they just need to start winning as soon as possible, don't they?
It's been a tough season. I mean, Grim Fenton's very frustrated with how the season's planned out. I mean, they've lost a lot of players to injury throughout, and that's sort of been the story of the season. Like they weren't on course for playoffs or anything at the start of the season, but they were definitely putting together a decent run of results. And then Maka got injured, and Buds is injured, and Nick is out for permanently now. And they just sort of completely plummeted, and they've not won 2 back-to-back games in the leagues now since August, and it's February. Maka is still the top scorer in the league, and he's not played since the end of September. So it's just been frustrating. But they've not played bad football at times. Like I've been to see them when they drew with Kings Lynn. They played really well, I thought, and I thought maybe they'll click on, and they'll go and lose a weird game like Buxton. It's just inconsistent.
But like I say, I think the difference between now is getting Cedric May and getting them goals and getting the feed into him to make sure we can get a plenty of chance in the game, because you've got to score. Probably the way that Blythe's playing at the minute, you've got to score 3 goals or 2 goals at least win a game of football now. They just seem to be lacking in defensive side of things, like I say, especially with Buddle out injured as crucial players as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't think they're good defensively or in the attack, just with the injuries that they've had. I mean, they've just brought in Finn Cousin-Dawson, which I think is a massive sign for them. I think for the level he'll do really, really well there. And Isaac Walker seemed to hit the ground running when he came in as well, but he's slowed down a bit. I don't know if he's been injured or what, but they've definitely been making smart signings that are benefiting the team, but they seem to be mainly like loans. Like they're just hoping to stay up and see where they go from there.
Yeah. It all seems to be saying now they're just happy to kind of stay in the league. There's no kind of ambition now to push on. So hopefully if they do stay, I'm sure the Fenton won't want another relegation battle next season and want to push on and bring in his own type of players and build that squad over the summer, won't he?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
definitely. Looking at Spenny next, and despite a poor start, December, pretty much up till the turn of the year, January, we lost only to Darlow in the league, pretty much drawn and won the rest. And I know we had Anderson on the other night, and he kind of said now from kind of when the start of the season, obviously a lot of players coming in, lots of players going out. They're seeing that now got a settled squad. And I know I put on a couple of weeks ago for my game pick. If they won that game, I really fancy the outside chance to push for the playoffs. And even he said the other night after the Chester game before they all went out, he kind of looked and said, hold on, we've actually got a chance here of going up for a playoff spot. They have got an outside chance, haven't they?
I'd say probably more than an outside chance with the form that they've been on. They've been one of the best sides in the league since early December. I'd be surprised if they didn't at least challenge. I think are they 5 points off Chorley now?
Yeah,
it's not far away at all. But I mean, they'll be devastated that they don't play Blythe again because they've got a really good record against Blythe in recent years. But I definitely think Spenny could push on. I don't think many people would be surprised because every single time I've been at Boston, like in the last few months, it's been building, like playing good attacking football, like trying to win games. They don't seem like they're just happy to just hold on to a lead. They want to go 2-0 up, 3-0 up, and just keep attacking, which is positive for a team that at the time, like a couple of months ago, was in a relegation battle. Really,
it's crazy, isn't it? But like I say, hopefully with Spenny, I think what I was saying to Anderson the other night is they always normally start the season well and they're always in and around the playoffs throughout the full season. Where this year it's kind of different for them. They've had a poor start, but I think now the players will see this as a different challenge to say, right, we know that is in reach. We can now and go and get that rather than holding on to a playoff spot. Sometimes it's the better way to be in, if that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're picking up form at the right time, I think, as well. It's
Excellent.
every single player seems to have picked up recently as well. Like even Paul Black has just scored 3 in the last 3, and it's like
Yeah.
everyone's performing, and the signings have clicked in pretty quickly.
Yeah, good form at the right time. Definitely for Spenny there. Getting on to Darlow now, third, 54 points, one off joint top, but played obviously a couple of more games. The only thing is obviously out goes Mark Beck. But again, I think the system obviously now, I think with obviously the height of Mark Beck, and might now start playing a lot of different type of football. I know you got Hazel who's scoring for fun now. I know you've watched them a couple of times this season with Mark Beck playing, and was it that the type of football they were playing, or they're trying to build up the play differently?
Well, when Mark was there, it was a lot more play it down central and then have everyone else coming off the edge. Whereas now it seems to be focus the attack down the wing and then whip it in the box. And Hazel's been, like I say, in fine form dealing with those crosses. And they seem to be making signings that fit the system as well, like Nathan Newell, who is essentially he's replaced Dan Dodds, who went on to Hartlepool. But Nathan Newell attacking down that left side, he can whip a good ball in. So it's like they decided that's how they want to play, and they brought in good, intelligent attacking signings to play in those positions.
Yeah, and I think the fans as well. I know I seen an interview this morning of Alan Armstrong kind of saying the way that the fans have. I mean, they always do it every year. They boost the budget by they put their own money in to make sure that they can get these key players in. And the atmosphere that it's been like the last few games, it would be nice to see Darlow finally get that promotion. I know they had that spell where they just went up and up, but it'd be nice now to see them climb up that football pyramid even higher now again, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd love to see Darlow back up there in the higher leagues. Yeah. Like it's been a while.
No, it would be amazing. But I mean, the other teams involved just around the Kings Lynn, Fly, Brackley, all 4 involved, and it's crazy what you're going to get in the Northern League later, but it's a 4-point turnaround again in that division. I mean, I know there's a couple of games in hand which could play crucial, but I mean, the sides that you've played against Darlington, have you seen any of them 3 sides play against Darlington this season?
I haven't seen them play against Darlington. I've seen Kings Lynn play a couple of times. I've seen them play against Asherton, and I was, to be honest, surprised to see them even go on to do so well in the league, because I thought Asherton, considering our Northern League side, had a few good chances. On another day, they might have knocked them out the FA Cup and went through. And when I saw them against Blythe, I thought Blythe pretty much nullified them and had the better chances, but just couldn't quite get the break. So I'm surprised that Kings Lynn's up there, but I might have just not seen them on that day. I think they had Ponticelli was out both times I've seen them, so that might have had an effect.
Yeah, and 2 strong sides, and Fly and Brackley, they always kind of be up there, but especially with Brackley, I know obviously with the Spenny history over the last couple of seasons, they're always a strong physical side, aren't they, Brackley?
Yeah, that's traditionally what they've been, like just shut teams out and just hope for the best on like nick games 1-0, 2-0. They really ran games head close like the last season.
Yeah,
but
really good.
Towards the end of the season, in the last 2 of the last 3 matches, Darlington have to play Brackley and Kings Lynn, which is really going to, I think, be crucial in deciding that title, because you can't go to Brackley and then Kings Lynn just a week after having just been run ragged off Brackley. So it's not. It could have a massive impact on Darlow, and Fylde have quite an easy run in as well. So I'd maybe lean a bit towards Fylde at the minute.
Definitely. I mean, looking at them, like you say, Fly there, do you think Darlow could potentially push for that, or do you think it could be possibly playoffs for them?
I definitely think Darlow can and will push. They seem to be up for it. They seem to want to attack and actually go for the league and try and win, like without any doubt that they're going to go up. But I think they'll finish in the top 3. They'll get one of the better 2 promotion playoff spots.
Yes, but
I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to win the league. But anything could happen. Anything could happen.
Excellent. But it'll be really interesting again, like all the divisions that we're going to be talking about now, the swing and the change. I mean, just 1 week, the top division, one of the top losers, one of the 3rd place losers, or one gets a draw, and it changes every single week now, which is, as a football fan, as a neutral watching, it's great to see, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Getting on to the Northern Premier now, before we get on to the South Shields, which we'll have a little bit of chat about then, we're looking at the rest of the teams that's in the league as well, starting with Morpeth, sitting in 17th, 31 points, but again, hovering over relegation. Big win on Tuesday night, 1-0 against Whitby. Ben Sear scoring the goal there. But I think looking at Morpeth, and I know we've got Craig Lynch on the show, which will ask me a few more questions on Sunday. At the start of the season, were you expecting a little bit more from Morpeth this season?
Honestly, I didn't know much about Morpeth going into this season. I don't watch much Northern Premier. I'm like National League and Northern League, but
yes,
I know they had a good season last year, and it seemed to have just fallen off a little bit. But they've got a decent run of fixtures ahead of them now, so they could pick up and be looking up the league, especially building off that win against Whitby. Yeah,
I mean, that's who we're going to mention next, Whitby as well, sitting at 19, 30 points. bottom four. Again, things did improve with the new management coming in. Obviously, one that the joint manager leaving, just one taking over. But again, a big loss on Tuesday night. And them little losses this part of the season could be crucial for the next few games of how players' heads could be down, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's the big games for Whitby coming up, like Marsk, are going to be really crucial, I think, for the mentality and see if it can push on from there. Because if you sort of lose to Marsk, you're like, oh, I'm getting drugged right into it now, all right, down there again. Mm-hmm. But the momentum looks like it could start to be building there further, at least.
And again, it seems to be a bit more settled squad. I know we had Shane Bland on a couple of months ago, and he said exactly the same at the start of the season. He was pretty much seeing 2 or 3 players leaving every single week, 2 or 3 players coming in, and they just couldn't get anything settled, the formation, the squad settled. But now they seem to have getting that settled squad where they're not bringing in too many players. Yes, might be 1 or 2 loan signings, but I think that's crucial as well. You always see the teams that have pretty much the same start 11 week in, week out doing well in the league, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's going to work in our favour, 100%.
Yeah. And looking at Mars sitting 20th, bottom 3, and to be honest, I think not look good for Mars. And I think it's been one of those seasons where it hit that point where it was just a lot of players ins, out management. And again, losing 6-2 to Gainsborough during the week. It's a rough time for them at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they just seem to be struggling defensively. I've not actually watched them this season, but it seems to be more issues at the back than up front. Like, they've scored the same amount as Morbith, but they've conceded 12 more, but they've played 4 fewer games. And like you said, recently there's just been a bit of a shambles at the back by the looks of things. They've conceded 6, 4, and 4 in the last 3 games, which is it's relegation form to say the least.
It's not good, is it? Yeah, I mean, Adam Boy's always got a chance of scoring goals up front, but like you say, you can score as many goals as you want, but if you're letting 6 goals in at times, you're never going to win games of football, are you? No. But getting on to South Shields, and I'm really happy about this because I know I've got a couple of South Shields friends. It finally looks like they are going to get out of this division. I mean, the luck that they've had in this league with the COVID seasons, the way that they were pretty much guaranteed almost to go up, and the season gets called off. The next season, again, after a few games, gets called off. Would you say, can we almost say now it is complete? They will be going up this season, or do you think they will hit a blip?
And they have to go up, don't they? I mean, they're already so many points because they have games in hand, and anything can happen. They could hit a bad run of form, but it would take a minor miracle, I think, to stop Kevin Phillips' team at the minute. But like you say, it's well earned. I mean, it's like 1920, like you say, they should have went up that season. The way that it went about was just ridiculous, in my opinion. And then obviously last season was a bit heartbreaking as well.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's their time in the sun to finally have it. And Jeff Thompson will be absolutely buzzing because he's put a lot into that club.
Fantastic one. Like you say, top now by 8 points, 3 games in hand. They can pretty much almost afford to lose them 3 games, which they won't do. I would imagine at least pick up 2 wins out of them. And they kind of go wrong. 1-5-2 on Tuesday against Liveridge, bottom 3. Yes, but you're scoring goals, it just keeps them confident going. I know the strikers got on the score sheets there as well. And I think my friend who always he's a season ticket holder, he goes to every game and he just says the atmosphere now after the last couple of weekends that the fans are now starting to believe and look at. And even he keeps saying, don't keep saying we're going to promote, don't keep saying that the last few weeks. And now he's kind of got that point now he says, right, I am confident now we're going to go up. And I think a lot of fans now are thinking, right, let's start planning. And as you mentioned there, Jeff Thompson, I think he just deserves so much because of the last 3 seasons. The fans, I mean, you go along now, it looks like almost like a League 2 stadium ready to be played. And it's absolutely fantastic what he's done on and off the pitch, hasn't he?
I completely agree. And I mean, we'll see if they go up for the sake of your friends, but if they go up, which I'd imagine they will, they seem to be building good relationships with Blythe as well. And if Blythe are to go down, which I hope they don't, there's definitely players from Blythe that could be ready for the National League North next season from the squad.
See, if they go up, I mean, that division's going to be massive, isn't it? Kind of that Spenny's, the certain team that it's going to be amazing to watch, isn't it?
I mean, I just don't see South Shields having like a banana peel sort of game where they just slip up and go on a bad run of form. They seem to be really consistent. They have been consistent for multiple years. But they've obviously still got some tough games coming up. Like, they've got to go to Hydesville, they've got to go to Bamber Bridge as well. But they'll win more games than they'll not, I think. And I think they'll win the league by a decent margin.
Yeah, and like you say, it's not always the biggest squad. They seem to have quite a tight-knit squad. But I think it's that point now where if someone does get a bad injury, a strike or anything like that, the chairman can now probably look and say, well, I can actually bring in a striker, even pay daft amount of wages just to get them final goals, to get them pushing push, because they know that they're almost guaranteed now that promotion. It can pay off in the end of the day, can't it?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, but like I say, I'll just say if they go, in case he's watching, he'll not be happy. But any South Shields fans watching as well, just confirm today we've got Barry Smith, South Shields legend, on the end of the month as well. Really looking forward to talking to Barry about his time in the game as well. But again, as well, anyone that's watching so far, we've got a few watching now, which we really appreciate support as well. Any comments about any divisions, get them in. We'll go through them as well. And again, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button as well. Getting on the Northern Premier Division 1 East, which I absolutely love this division. It's almost like the Northern League, kind of what I call the Premier of it. The amount of teams that's going up, and I think in a couple of years' time it's going to be pretty much full of them. But title decider, would you say, with walks up? I can't believe kind of where these have came out of, because at the start of the season it was kind of Stockton, Hebburn, who's going to win the league, and then these have came out of nowhere. Do you think anybody can catch them, or do you think that's game over?
It's got to be game over now. I mean, they're so far ahead. Like they're going to be 20 points clear by the end of the season, probably. I think if anyone could push them, I'd reckon it would be Hebburn. But like, I say a push very, very, very vaguely. I don't think it's going to be well, it's not going to come out on the final day, is it?
Definitely got to lose a lot of games. But yeah, before we get on to Hebburn and Stockton, quick mention again for the teams that's in that division. So start with Concert, sitting ninth, Saturday 1-0 win against Stockbridge, Calvin Smith, old college teammate myself, and Tuesday 1-0 win against Shildon, Zach Atkinson. Game in hand and 5 points off the playoffs as well. They've kind of made a late push, and they are playing some really well, haven't they, since the new management teams came in there.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely picked up, and I think I'd be very surprised if they don't push Dunstan towards like the last day of the season, because they're, like you say, 5 points off with a game in hand. I think they've only lost one of the last 7 in the league as well. So, but when you're in that sort of form, you just feel like unbeatable.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want any game to break your momentum, it's Works Off Town on a Saturday, which is what they've got coming up. So that's a definitely bit of a brick wall for them. But you kind of go into that game with just keep your head held high and hope not to get beat by too many. But
I mean, that could, like you see, if Concentrate win there, that the confidence that they will get to push for the playoffs, but also possibly give them teams in the playoffs a chance to, we might be able to still catch walk-ups depending on other games as well. It could be a massive game for really, isn't it, for Concert?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think every game's big for them now, because they're definitely going to be able to push for that final playoff spot. Because I think we're assuming that 1 to 4 is basically already been decided, and it's just that one playoff spot left. I'll be surprised if they don't push for it.
And North Shields now sitting 16th, and I think you're looking at the league between 13th and 19th. It's really tight, but a good draw versus Stockton last night. Really good point for them down there. But I think with the likes of like North Shields that came up, they just get the experience of the league. I think for them it's just to stay in the league and push on for next season. I think that would have been the aim at the start of the season. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always hard to come up with a new division. I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
But they've done well, and they've had a few different. I just think that they need to focus on the teams around them, and if they can get a big results like the game against Stockton, all the best. But you've got the big games like coming up against Shildon and things like that. That just I think that they'll be Mark Nash's focus going forward now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's who we mentioned next. Shildon sitting 17th. Things were really looking down, obviously, with the manager coming in and leaving after pretty much 2 years, and it looked kind of down and out. A couple of players leaving as well, but picking up. I know they lost to Concert, 0-0 against Pontefract, 1-0 win against Grantham, a 2-0 win against Carlton Town. Again, they'll be now just wanting to trying to stay in that division and push on again, won't they?
Yeah, it's just a case of surviving by any means necessary now, isn't it? But like you say, the gap isn't that big. Like just a few good results, and you can start looking up the table instead of down. But it's been tough for them this season, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And like you say, we mentioned the playoffs, which I think, looking at the teams that's in the Northeast, I think that's how they will be involved this season. I don't think they will push for the title. But Hebburn, Stockton, Dunstan, I mean, we just mentioned Constant, who may sneak into there as well. But starting with Hebburn, sitting third at the moment, 10 clear in the playoffs. Moo were doing a great job there. I know we had him on a few months ago, which it was just nice to speak to him, and he's hungry, and he just wanted to take this club as far as he can with this new football pyramid. Like a couple of good seasons, you could be almost playing in the football league. It's amazing of the football pyramid the setup it is now as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I mean, aim for the stars and land on the moon, so to say. But,
yeah, it's there, isn't it? But yeah, 1-0 win against Grantham Saturday. Amar Prirol, like you say, still getting the goals at that level as well. Really good player. Sitting on next, which is Stockton, who's sitting second, which is sitting on 50 points, 11 points clear in the playoffs as well. Drew 1-1 away at North Shields last night, as we mentioned. But like you say, with Hebburn and Stockton kind of 10 points clear, 11 points clear, I would say looking at the games left, because there's not many games left in that league, they're pretty much now their kind of now focus is now to kind of just get the momentum going, picking up the wins and building the confidence going at them playoffs now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like, I was thinking this before, like, Hebburn are in really good form right now at the minute. I mean, I think they've won 8 on the spin in all comps.
Yeah.
Do you want to be picking up form now, or is it then like you're setting yourself up for a fall
It's
towards the
hard,
end of the
isn't it?
season?
Yeah. Really difficult looking at it. I mean, looking at Dunstan as well, which is kind of almost opposite how Heaven's doing at the moment. They're sitting 5th, just inside the playoffs, but lost 2-1 Tuesday. The Pontefract lost 2-1 on Saturday to Long Eaton. Better's needed, but I know down there with the management, they won't let that sit for kind of too long. I know I would imagine they would have them in the change room after the 2 defeats in a row to kind of say, right, look, this is what we've got to do next. And they've always been a quite strong side, Dunstan, where a lot of teams won't want to go there in the midweek to play. So I'd expect them to still be in and around the playoffs come the end of the season. What about yourself on them?
I would just worry that the loss to Pontefract might come back to bite them a little bit, because I think that's one of the teams that's going to be sniffing around that playoff spot. And it's a 6-pointer at the end of the day. And if you lose it and you miss out by 1 point, it's based off 1 goal, 1 penalty call that they maybe didn't get in that game on the weekend. But I look at Dunstan and I think back to the Cleethorpes game, but the late comeback, that was like, right, this is time to really start pushing up the league, and then it just sort of fell off a little bit. But I think Dunstan can beat anyone on that day, and it's just towards the end of the season, they've got to play Worksop and Hebburn right at the end of the season. It's like, is that really the end of the season that you want then going into the playoffs? But
definitely a couple of bit of batterings, hopefully not. But we'll see with that one. And getting on the Northern League now, which I know you absolutely love, which you're involved with all your journalism as well. I mean, just before we get on to the season, I mean, how exciting have you been going to the games this season, and have you enjoyed it?
The crowds have definitely picked up this season. Is something that I've noticed. Like, I think having so many teams in good form, like it sort of builds up that, like, the crowd and the community become a lot more. But I feel like, not to badmouth a bigger club, but I feel like a lot of Blythe fans have sort of started drifting out of our areas in the Northern League, because it's quite toxic at Blythe at times. And it just feels like sometimes people are diversifying to a few different stadiums. But I think
it's really nice, isn't it? The ground hoppers as well. It's just great to see, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. I think it's been a competitive year, like, since the start, and it started off with, it felt like Bishop Auckland and Asherton, and then Whitley Bay came in, then Newton Aycliffe's just like appeared at the top of the table, it feels like. But it's been a great year for the Northern League.
I kind of look at it because I was writing obviously the notes for the show, and you mentioned Bishop and Ashton there, and it was quite funny because I know we had both the chairmans on earlier in the season. I think when they both came on, I think they lost the next couple of games afterwards. I thought, I'm not going to come on here anymore. After kind of picking the sides up. Yeah, the curse. I thought, oh God, I was expecting messages. But I mean, looking at this season, it's absolutely amazing at the top. Like you say, from pretty much the third, fourth weekend, it's been so close. And it's amazing that we actually now speaking at the top of the league, Newton Aycliffe, 57 points on played 26 games. Like you say, the last 5 games, win. And again, it's not just little wins, it's great wins against 3-2 against Bishop, 5-0 against West Auckland, 3-2 against Gisborough. Brian Atkinson, great job down there. I mean, like they say, the 5-0 against West Auckland, not many teams go to a tough place like that and pick up points. They're doing really well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very, very impressive. I mean, I think 8 wins on the spin now in the league. It's going back like 3 months since they dropped any points. And they just sort of rocketed up the league. I was like, I didn't see it coming at all, to be honest. It's completely caught me off guard, and I was like, how is this happening? Like, who is shooting? Who is doing it for Newton Aycliffe? It just caught me by surprise completely.
Not really good. And then second place, Bishop Auckland, 53 points, played 26 in the last 5 games, lost 1, lost, drawn. But like you say, when you've got the likes of Johnson, who's on plus 10 goals, both of them, but 1 win in the last 5, do you think the pressure kind of, I know they were starting to almost not run away with it, but their points were looking better in their favour. Is the pressure kind of getting to Bishop now, do you think?
I think the pressure has definitely started to get them a little bit. I saw them play Asherton in November and get beat 5-0, and it was like, how is this top of the table team coming to Asherton and just not getting like fodder? But I think that thing's been an inconsistency, which is weird because they started the season so well. Yeah, and they just sort of dropped off a little bit. Maybe it is the pressure getting them. I don't know, but you've got some experienced players in that squad as well that you'd be surprised to let it get to them.
Definitely. I know, like you say, like Catterick signed goalkeeper Danny Lear came in not a couple of weeks ago as well. I know he's coming to fix my boiler next week, so I'll have a chat because he comes out. He's my boiler man, so I'll have a chat with him, see what's going on down Bishop as well. Might get him in for an interview while he's doing the boiler. Getting on to third place, Whitley Bay, 52 points. And looking at the third and the fourth, obviously these have got a couple of games in hand over the teams at the top. But starting with Whitley Bay on 52 points, played 24. Last 5 games, lost 1-1, lost 1. Again, they're still fighting. I think at the start of the season, if anybody said, right, Whitley Bay, you're going to be fighting for the title this in the season, sorry, I think a lot of fans would have took that, wouldn't they? Hands up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the squad at the start of the season maybe wasn't the strongest, but they've had a few players who I wouldn't say have been overperforming, but have been surprisingly consistent throughout the season. But I just think that the issue with Whitley Bay for me is complacency, maybe, because they seem to do well against the big teams. Like when they played Asherton, they played really well. They did well against Newton Aycliffe as well earlier in the season. But it's like they've lost like 5-1 to Carlisle City and 4-0 to Redcar and things like that, and those are proper slip-ups that you're like, can you really go on and win the league? Because you need to win the league. There's no other way around it. You have to win the league. It's like, can you win the league with those kind of performances like more than once throughout the season?
It's tough, isn't it? Like you say, I mean, the 5-1 loss against Carlisle City, the 4-0 against Redcar. Looking at them games, and you're kind of thinking, is it when it gets to those where it's 2 or 3-0, do the heads just drop? I know there's a lot of young lads playing at Whitley Bay this season. And you kind of look at them where them shock results. I know there's a couple of lads. Well, one of them who's in the group as well, who helps with and he supports Whitley Bay. And a couple of times after them games, he just said, "I just don't know how they turned up today and how they play like that." And I think it's just one of those where if the other team gets an early goal or a couple of goal lead, it just seems to be that their young lads are their heads dropping, and that could really play, especially with some of the games as you mentioned. All these big teams have got to play each other between now and the end of the season. Even if in a couple of weeks' time, this point difference could be swing again, it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go through some of the run-ins that we've got because Heat and Stan pretty much have to play everyone, so they could be pivotal in what's to go. But I mean, they play Newton Aycliffe home and away, but Newton Aycliffe have to play Asherton in those 12 games as well as Whitley Bay. And Asherton in the last 3 have Whitley Bay and Bishop Auckland. Whitley Bay have
amazing.
Asherton and Heat and Stan. It's like everything's just going to come down in that final 3 weeks. I can't wait. I wish I could be at every single game at once, but it's just not possible.
No, it will be absolutely amazing, honestly. And then sitting 4th place, Asherton, which I think, looking at obviously over the season, I think a lot of players, fans and everything expect them to be up there, but sitting on 48 points, but played the least games, which is 26. So if they do, obviously win the games in hand, they'll be back up there again. But the last 5 games, lost 1-1 and lost again. A decent squad, but I think with the squad that they've got, that might help now with the weeks going forward. I know a couple of another signing today as well. That could be crucial between now and the end of the season. But even looking at where they are in the league and the squad that you got, you're still expecting them to be pretty much going to the last game of the season up towards that 1st and 2nd place, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be up there with the squad, with bringing in Robbie Dale, Dan McGuire at the start of the season. Like, these are National League North players last season who were doing well at that level, and now they come down to Northern League and he's on pushing on. It's not worrying, but they haven't made good signings not good signings per se, but haven't got the most out of some of the signings that they brought in recently. Hopefully, I think it's Lewis Green that came in today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully, if he comes in, he can make a difference because Asherton has been a bit light in that midfield. Skinner's not really been preferring Yannick as much. For whatever reason, I think Yannick, one of the better players in that midfield, but Skinner doesn't prefer him. So I don't know if Green's going to come in and play that role. But Asherton previously, they've got a lad from Sunderland work experience who didn't play yet. I've got a lad called Marcelino who's just not played, and it's like it's just bringing him players for the sake of it that aren't really benefiting the team.
Yeah,
I worry maybe they'll come in at the end of the season and have an impact. That'd be fantastic. But I'm not sure on some of the signings. And if as well, in the middle of October, they lost a couple of coaches like Neil Cooper and another one of the coaches moved on, and you saw a real dip in form after that. And I don't know if what their impact on the team was, but I think it's worth mentioning because it was definitely at least a coincidence.
Yeah, I know we had Neil on, and like you say, he was just so down to earth. He was a cracking lad, and like you say, just don't know what's happened there. I know, obviously, I think it was a UEFA A coach that came in and replaced him, and it's kind of were they expecting to kind of go up and now trying to get coached at that next level? But sometimes you don't need that. You need different people in there and kind of their own ideas, don't you, sometimes?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, looking at them 4 teams, and I'm going to put you on the spot now, how would you rate them between first to fourth place come the end of the season?
Oh, first or fourth. I'll stick my neck out and I'll put Asherton first because I feel like I'll maybe be disowned if I don't. I fancy Whitley Bay for second, Newton Aycliffe for third, and Bishops for fourth. But I mean, it's a few points between. It could go anywhere. You can't write anyone off as well. That's what I like. It's like
definitely
anyone could win the league. Anyone could.
Yeah, well, a few weeks ago, I had Whitley Bay, and I've always just said I just think there'll be that dark horse where everyone kind of almost forgets about them going into the last game of the season, and I've gone with Whitley Bay, Ashton second, Bishop Bortland, and Newton Aycliffe. I just think because you've won so many games, how long can you keep them running? There's got to be that little blip where I see some tough games come up where they might lose a couple, and obviously the teams with the games in hands, which is going to help as well, hopefully. So that's how I'm going with them for. But really interesting, like you say, them last few weeks. If you get a camera in every game and put on pay-per-view, you would make a kind of bit of money from it. It would be brilliant to see it. It would be really good. I know I would pay to watch it as well. But yeah, getting on to the next one, the Northern League Division 2, and I think this one has started to close a bit. I know we put a poll in probably about 2 months ago now to say, can anybody catch Borough Rangers? And I think it was almost 99% people said no. Just that one person said yeah. And I think the last few weeks, Borough Rangers, a couple of draws that's starting to creep in now. It was just win after win after win. And then our top of the league played 28, sitting on 64 points, but the last 5 games, won, drawn, lost and won. And like you say, the draws are starting to creep in now. Is it that bit of pressure where getting towards the end of the season, it is starting to creep in again for them?
I just think that they didn't expect anyone to push them and they got a bit complacent because they were so far ahead. And like I say, like one win in five games now, it's like, oh, the pressure's back on. How are you going to cope with that? Because they were so far ahead. They were so far clear. But I've seen Horton a few times and they're really, really good. I was like, when I watched them, I was like, oh, they're probably going to push. But it just seemed like the gap was so big that it was in Borough Rangers' hands and they've sort of let us slip a little bit.
Like you say, looking at second, Horton played 26, and so again, they've got them 2 games in hand as well. So win them 2 games in the gap will close, but the last 5 unbeaten in 5, drawn the 1. And a couple of, like you say, I mean, Gavin Cogden coming back in, what a signing that is. He's going to score goals. Doesn't matter how old he is, he's going to get away from defence and put that ball in the back of the net. What a sign that is for the club, isn't it?
I mean, they've got so many players who have been contributing. It's like they're still scoring for fun at the minute, like Jack Maskell as well, like just to name one. Like you could name many players for them. But they seem so together and passionate when you watch them, like from keeper to striker. It's like F1 wants to win every single ball and they want to attack. They seem like I watched them play against Sunderland West End, and West End went at them in the first half, and then it was like they just soaked up the pressure and it didn't faze them. Whereas some teams would be like, oh my, like this team lower in the league in good form, like have so much to play for. Like how are we going to deal with it? And they just seem to stick to what they know because Johnny Payne just seems to know how he wants his team to play, and they just seem to set up and set out and just attack, and they play good football. And I'd be very, very surprised if they don't win the league. I'm saying that now. I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago though. Like you say,
some quality players. I mean, like you say, Hodgkiss in midfield, fantastic on the ball, little magician, and like John Bowes, what a leader he is in defence as well. They've just got that quality, which I think between now and the end of the season could be crucial. Looking at that as well. Down to third place now, Berkeley played 27, sitting on 57 points. Again, the last 5 games, won 4, lost 1. But it's just a good side down there. And like you say, the management, they've just got the players ticking, a young side, but then they've got the experience like Alex Francis and players like that. And obviously the striker banging in goals for fun. It's a good team this season, Berkeley. And I think if they don't kind of push for that, they're going to be really crucial to watching the playoffs, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. I think the league's maybe a step too far at the minute, but the playoffs, if they can get a good run of form towards the end of the season, I mean, it's like Ian Rutledge is just absolutely. I've never heard of anything like it in so long. It's like, how is he not being sniffed at by teams like Blythe? Like when they're so desperate for a striker, it's like it's right there. It's like 43 goals he scored or something now, 40 plus, definitely. It's like how is no one having a look at him, or is he just staying there because he wants to see just how high he can set the record?
Yeah, I mean, it's like say when you look at his goal record. I mean, I think for myself, you got to look back on like Michael Mackay, where you just every season you start them daft goal scoring, and that's kind of like going from now the first time you kind of see them numbers again, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like I don't know what he does. I don't know if he works. He doesn't want to commit to like a more full time sort of thing, but he's definitely got the ability. I mean, I've not watched him, but you can't score that many goals and not have the ability.
Yeah.
You don't fluke 40 goals.
Definitely not. In fourth place, Bedlington, 27, played 27 points, 56 in the game, one loss the last 5 games. And like I say, I think these between now, I don't think they can catch Borough Rangers likes, for example, Horden, Burtley, possibly. But again, they're good football inside this season. I know they've had the trouble over the last few seasons, Bedlington, but it is, again, nice to see clubs like that pushing on again, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always nice for me to see a team from Northumberland do well, obviously, but I've not managed to watch Bedlington this season. Every time I've went to watch them, it's been postponed because of the pitches down there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see like Bedlington really push on in the playoffs as well. But it's just, could you just imagine Borough Rangers not going up after the start of the season?
Crazy, wouldn't it?
It's mad to think of.
Crazy. Even Niall, thank you very much for watching, mate. Really appreciate your support as always. And again, everyone that's watching, I really appreciate your support as well. Getting on the positions behind that, and I think we said about a month ago, I think give it another 3 or 4 weeks, the gap would start to open, but it hasn't really. You've still got Billingham on 51 points sitting 5th, Blythe Town on 50 points sitting 6th, 7 points put on 48, Brandon 8th on 47, and Redcar 9th place on 44 points. It's just so close now. Going to them few playoffs positions. Out of them teams that we're looking at, I mean, going for the league, first of all, who would you put in there for who's going to win the league, would you say?
I'm saying Horden now. I'm a firm Johnny Payne believer. He's just done great things at Horden this season. Yeah, I hope they keep going from strength to strength, to be honest, because it's been really good to watch. And they're a cracking set of lads there as well. Really, really, really cracking set of lads.
Really good, yeah. Like you say, with Borough Rangers, a great start, but I'm going with Horden as well. I just think they'll have that too much quality leadership to get to be Borough Rangers, get that top spot. But looking at the playoffs, obviously, if Horden does win, like we both said there, you've got Borough Rangers, Burtley, Bedlington, Billingham, Blythe, Prudhoe, Brandon, Redcar. Who would the teams that you'd probably be expecting to see in there come the end of the season?
I mean, take your pick. Borough Rangers will be in there, won't they? You'd imagine Burtley and Bedlington will probably stay up. I'm not sure. I mean, the last one's up for grabs, isn't it? Who have you got?
See, I mean, looking at it, I think I've got Borough Rangers. Burtley, 100% has got to be in there. And I think after that, I think the likes of Blythe Town, I think they'll push on and get up in the playoffs as well, because they're really good down there. I mean, we had Gavin Fellon as well, who absolutely loves his football, and what a man to speak to. I think they'll get in it. With Billingham, and just seeing they just cannot win a game of football, or if they do, they kind of get a good run. It's seemed to have gone quite different down there at the minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's still a long time left in the season. Anyone can pick up a decent run of form. You can't really write anyone off at the minute, can you?
Yeah, I mean, one I would love to see in it, just because the last kind of 10, even 15 years has been really grim down there, Brandon. It's just nice to see them so high up in the league. I know obviously the management team left. I know we had them on a few weeks ago, and they kind of said the reason why they did leave is because Brandon didn't want to take promotion if they did get in the playoffs. So it's quite a strange one. So I don't know how that would work. But I think it would just be nice to see a club like that where they've just been battling financially, probably on and off the pitch. It'd be nice to see someone like that sneak in. And you never know. Once you get in them playoffs, anybody can win it, can't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's 90 minutes, well, at a time, obviously, but yeah, playoffs is anyone's game at that point.
Yeah, and again, like you say, that's always a great in the Division 2. I know we had the Heaton secretary in a couple of weeks ago, and he just said that obviously the teams a couple of years ago when they got promoted, he just says it was just fantastic to win that type of football in the playoffs, because I think it is nice to win the league, but when you play in the playoffs, it's that excitement, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it gets the things going. I mean, I don't really know too much about the squads around there, but do you think it's the experienced squads will do better in the playoffs than the younger ones?
Yeah, I think with the management as well. I mean, looking at Burtley Town, the manager down there is absolutely fantastic. A lot of experience with Bryson down there, and I think they'll have a massive bonus going into the playoffs simply because of that. So if I had to pick anyone, and it does sound strange, obviously, how Borough Rangers have done, but I think it would be Horden and Burtley will be my 2 picks to go out of them.
Just to be very boring, I think the same, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah,
yeah, I'd agree with you.
Ethan William as well. Is that a family member there?
Yeah, that's with Dar.
Thumbs up. Yeah, excellent. Thank you for watching. If you haven't hit that subscribe as well, William, thank you for watching as well. But yeah, honestly, thank you so much, Luke, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing your passion, your love for the non-league football as well. Like I say, I absolutely love reading the articles that you're putting in out there at the moment as well. Look out for all your work. So keep up the good work. Anyway, any games planned the weekend at the moment?
It's Seaham versus Sunderland Darcy on Saturday, and then
Saturday, yeah.
I think Durham Ladies on Sunday. If I can get myself over there for 12, we'll see. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed being on.
Not a problem at all. Like I say, we'll get you back on. Like I say, I would imagine even looking at it now, give it 3 weeks time, and we probably change our predictions. Someone else will be top of the Northern League Division 1. It'll just be crazy. But yeah, we'll definitely have another show in a few weeks' time to go back over them last few weeks and who could be picking up a league title. But again, everyone that's watched, again, some amazing support as always. And Luke, thank you for your time. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night as well.